Hello! It's Raimi, and today we are going to do the first chapter challenge, and I am so excited. So a couple weeks ago, I went on Instagram and I asked what your guys' favorite books are, and I got a few responses, and I will put them up on the screen right now. And yeah, so I am super curious to kind of see what you guys are reading and what you guys like and all of that. So we're gonna go through and pick out a handful of the recommendations that I got, and we're gonna go and head into Barnes & Noble, and we are going to read the first chapter of each of those books and then decide which one to get based off of my opinion of the first chapter. The first person that I saw personally do this was Katie is Reading, and I just thought it was the cutest thing and so fun. So I wanted to participate in a different way with people on Instagram and their favorite books. I will shut up and we will go into Barnes & Noble and we will start reading the first chapter of your guys' favorite books. I am back home now, and I did some filming in Barnes & Noble when I was reading the first chapters, but I wasn't quite confident enough to sit there and film and talk to the camera and give my feedback in the middle of Barnes & Noble while people were walking around and shopping and trying to do their thing. I didn't want to be invasive to other people. So I figured I could come home and give you my thoughts and feedback on each of the books that I read, and then let you know which one I decided to read for the first chapter challenge. I took some notes so that I would remember what I was thinking in the moment. So the first book that I read the first chapter of is Gentleman in Moscow. And I don't think that it is my typical read, and it was a lot thrown at you in the first chapter, so not gonna lie, it was a little bit confusing, but I think that it's something that would get really interesting as you get deeper into the book. The first chapter was pretty short. I think it was maybe only 6 pages. So it was a very short preview of what the book would be like. And so I don't really feel like I can really judge it, obviously, off of the first chapter, but I really liked the writing style. There was a lot of really beautiful descriptive language already within the first chapter. I feel like it is set in a time period that is not something that I would typically read about, so I feel like it could be interesting to kind of be engrossed in a story in a time period that I don't usually read in. So I really liked that, and overall I think it could be a really interesting story. Yeah, so that was my initial thoughts of the first chapter of Gentleman in Moscow. The second book that I read, the first chapter of, is Touching Spirit Bear, and I was not really sure what to expect. at all. And wow, like I was already immediately captured within the first like page of this troubled kid having to be sent off to, I think it's Alaska, I think. Yeah, he gets sent off to Alaska, and I don't know, I was already immediately curious about like, well, why is this kid the way that he is? Why is he so angry? And why is he so like, I don't know, like I just wanted to know his story. Something that I thought was kind of hilarious was, so as they were arriving to this Alaskan island, the overseers, like the people that were gonna take care of Cole, which is the kid, they made him put his clothes on backwards, or not backwards, but inside out, and he wouldn't be allowed to turn his clothes right side out until he earned the ability to turn them right side out, which I thought was like, I don't know, I just thought that was such an interesting and like distinctive way to try and make someone feel self-conscious or shameful of what they're doing there and why. I don't know. I just thought the whole thing, the whole premise of the story sounds so interesting. The writing was already engaging and gripping, and yeah, I definitely would love to continue reading the rest of this book. Then the third book that I read the first chapter of is Fallen. And immediately I was like, ooh, this is something that I would pick out for myself. Like this is the type of story that I would find at Barnes & Noble and be like, ooh yeah, like I want to read this. I want to take this home with me. The kind of initial plot of the story is this man, and he is drawing this girl, and he has to leave before she remembers who he is, and somehow they've met in the past or they've been involved, but she doesn't remember and she like disappears. I don't know, it's kind of crazy. It's like so much happens in the first chapter, and I'm like, I need to know more. Like, why does she not remember who she is or who this guy is that's supposedly very significant to her? Like, where did she go? What is happening? Like, I don't know. It just was immediately like, I want to know more of this story. The author was immediately engaging, and I felt like there was detail without being overwhelming in the amount of detail that was given, and I love that. Again, I would be so interested to keep reading this book. The next book that I read the first chapter is All of the Lonely People, which this again is not something that I would probably have picked out for myself, but I felt an immediate connection to the main character. The main character's name is Herbert. And the main character is kind of this like lonely hermit man who like gets calls every once in a while from his daughter, but he's really not sociable. He's not, you know, he's just very keeps to himself. And we don't really know why in the first chapter. We didn't really get to that point to understand why. So Herbert is at his house, kind of being a hermit. He gets a knock on his door, and it's a woman and her daughter, and the woman's name is Ash. And wow, I related to her so much in that moment. Essentially, she was new to the neighborhood. She went and knocked on every single person's door, and nobody answered the door. Nobody wanted to talk to her. Nobody wanted to get to know her. And she knocked on Herbert's door and just kept blabbering and blabbering and blabbering and being like, well, this is my daughter and like this is what she does, and like I know this is, I talk a lot when I'm nervous and you're not saying anything, like I just want to meet people, like we're new to the area, like just kind of like just going on and on and on and on, and then kind of being like, well, I try to be like outgoing, but then I wind up being incredibly socially awkward, and I'm just like, wow, I relate to that so much, where you have moments of like where you like feel brave and you're like, I'm gonna do something social, and then you're like, but I'm awkward, so I failed miserably. And I was just like, yes, like I relate to Ash so much in that moment. It was crazy. So anyway, definitely not my typical read. I don't really know, like if I'm being completely honest, I don't think it's going to be something that I'm going to rush to read or be like, oh yes, I need to read this book like in the next month or two. But I think that if I come to the opportunity to read this book, maybe I find it at the library, or maybe I have a pause or a break or the desire to read a more in-depth, character-driven fiction story, then I think that I would seek it out again. I think the first chapter was a great first chapter, but I don't think it's gonna be something that I'm gonna be like running to go read right away. And then the last book that I read the first chapter of is The Switch. And it was, wow. The first chapter, I read the first chapter and I felt like I wanted to bring out my highlighter and already like start highlighting different things. The author has done an incredible job with vocalizing thoughts of grief and feelings of grief, and I just was immediately blown away. And I think the overall premise of the book is so interesting. Kind of, it reminds me, I can't remember what the movie is called with Cameron Diaz, and she like gets online and she meets this other girl and they like switch houses for a period of time because they both just need like a switch up or whatever. And it reminds me of that. So where this granddaughter and this grandmother switch lives, essentially. They move into each other's places. The grandmother lives in this small town and the granddaughter lives in London. And so they switch places and spend 2 months kind of living each other's lives. And the overall premise just sounds so interesting and so like, what a cool concept. Like, it immediately grabbed me just by reading the back of the book, and then getting the opportunity to read the first chapter. I was like, whoa, like the writing in this book is so incredible. I was immediately gripped and wanted to continue reading. And so that is why I chose The Switch for the book that I'm going to read out of this first chapter challenge. It was immediately gripping, interesting. The characters were already had so much depth to them even within the first chapter, and I was just blown away. So I did start reading The Switch. I decided to not buy it at Barnes & Noble. Your girl is trying to save money. I think we all understand that. And so I went to my local library and they did not have the book available, and I was a little bit disappointed, but then they did inform me that they have it via audiobook. So I am about halfway through the audiobook of The Switch, and it is really, really good. It's hilarious in some parts, it's heartbreaking in some parts, and I think my favorite, it goes back and forth between the granddaughter and the grandmother's perspective. I think my favorite is the grandmother's perspective. I find her perspective so hilarious, and just, yeah, I really like the grandmother. The only thing is that I do think that I might eventually go back and read the physical book and do the highlighting that I want, because there are so many amazing lines in this book that I feel like I'm missing out on. Like, I hear it and I'm like, oh, I wanna, like, I don't know if I should write it down, or like, I don't know what I should do, because I just feel like I need to highlight it, I guess, and you can't really do that with an audiobook. So I think that's the only qualm that I'm having with reading it via audiobook, but I have not read an audiobook in such a long time, and getting to make my lunch and make myself a tea and, you know, take a shower and have it on while I'm showering, like, I really think that that's fun and such a cool way to incorporate reading into things that you don't normally get to do while reading, because obviously, like, I'm not gonna take my paper book in the shower because that would just be a recipe for disaster. But yeah, so I'm really loving that part of it. So I think eventually I will want to buy the physical copy, but right now I am not feeling the need to spend the money on it, and I'm perfectly capable of listening to the audiobook and enjoying the story this way. So that is what I'm doing. I have about 5 hours left in the audiobook. I've listened to it for about 5 hours, so 50% of the way through. I would say thus far, it's hard. I would probably give it maybe a 4 out of 5 thus far, but I haven't finished it.
Fitz lets out a positively theatrical gasp. To Martha and Yaz's engagement party? Lena Cotton! Even your grandmother is coming, all the way from the wilds of Yorkshire. I know, I groan. Right, come on you, we need to find me a bloody phenomenal outfit.
I just finished the book. That was such a good book. Oh my gosh. Yeah, Beth O'Leary definitely deserves the hype. I mean, wow, that was such a good book. Wow, with Lena and Eileen, the granddaughter and the grandmother, which I still think my favorite sections to read through was the grandma, because she's just hilarious and just so, like, such a quirky and fun grandma. Like, I absolutely loved her. I just, whoa, like, really grew connected to these characters and really just wanted the best for them and wanted the hard situation that they were going through with loss and all of that to, like, wow. And the way that Beth, and I think I said this before, but the way that she articulates the feelings of grief and loss are incredible. Like, it's absolutely incredible. She's an amazing writer. I mean, I'm blown away. So I'm glad that I tried out the audiobook, but I do think that I would love to go back and read the physical book, and just, like, the whole book will practically be highlighted, I believe, because there is just so much good writing in this book. And I'm so thankful to you guys for recommending it to me. Wow, because honestly, I don't think, it's not that I wouldn't have picked it out, it's just not something that I think I would have, like, looked for or searched for or even knew that it was there. So the fact that you guys recommended it and I read the first chapter and was like, oh my gosh, this is the one, like, such a cool experience. And I just had so much fun filming this video. I think, okay, so for reading the audiobook version of this book, I would probably give a 4.5 out of 5, only because I just think reading the physical book of The Switch would have been a better option. But I think the actual book, The Switch, if I'm not looking at it from the audiobook perspective, it's a 5 out of 5. Like, it is an amazing book. I would highly recommend it to anybody who wants to read a, like, it's weird because it's deep while also simultaneously being lighthearted and funny. And there's, like, a little bit of, like, fun spice with the grandma, which is kind of funny, and, like, I don't know, I adore this book. I think this is gonna be, like, a long time love of mine for sure. This is an amazing book. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I had so much fun doing this. I absolutely loved getting to read through some of your guys' favorite books. And if you guys would like to see a video like this in the future where it's kind of more interactive with you guys, please let me know in the comments. I would love to do another video like this one or something similar. So yeah, just let me know what you guys think. I have to go pick out a new book, which I'm really excited about because I have a lot of options on my TBR this November. And yeah, I will talk to you guys in my next video. Happy reading. Bye.